What if the brightest smile in Hollywood hid the loneliest room? Tonight, we open a door most people never knew existed. The private world of Diane Keaton, told through the voice of the daughter she chose with her whole heart, Dexter. Fame gave Diane the lights, the flowers, the applause. But at home, there were quiet mornings, folded notes, and a woman who loved deeply and carried cracks no camera could capture. Now, imagine the headlines fade. Imagine the house in Brentwood, sun through big windows, jazz whispering in the background. That's where Dexter finally speaks, not as a fan, not as a reporter, but as the girl who watched her mother brew tea, label photo albums, and ask the same gentle question every night. What made you happy today? To the world, Diane Keaton was a legend. To Dexter, she was home. Years earlier, at 50 peak career, 0 apologies. Diane did something that shocked the industry. She adopted Dexter. No ring, no script, no need to explain. She just stepped into a role with no rehearsal. Mother. 4 years later, she brought home a baby boy. Duke, the second gift of my life, she called him. The woman known for sharp wit and sharper wardrobes learned the choreography of 6 a.m. breakfasts and school drop-offs. And somehow, between premieres and set calls, she built 2 childhoods that didn't orbit her fame. Cameras stayed at the gate. Privacy wasn't a strategy, it was love. But love has layers. In a study stacked with old scripts and half-cold coffee, Dexter found a leather notebook tied with a thin silver ribbon, corners worn, perfume fading. Inside, a sentence that changed everything. I loved him with everything I had. One name repeating in careful ink, Al Pacino. It wasn't the confession of an icon. It was the heartbeat of a woman who knew how to laugh and how to wait. On those pages, Diane remembered 1971, the electric hum of a New York set, the way he'd look over when she laughed, and the room would shrink to 2. Night drives, Sinatra on the radio, hair messy, feet on the dashboard. The kind of happiness you don't trust because it feels like a dream you'll wake from too soon. And then the part no movie teaches you, the unanswered calls, the weeks of silence, the glass of wine that never moved. If I called one more time, she wrote, I was afraid I'd lose him for good. He'd return, smiling as if nothing happened. She'd forgive, as if love were a place you could move back into without checking the foundation. Years later in Rome, the script reached its last scene. Marriage or goodbye? She asked. He said nothing. Silence can be a blade. She left. She didn't look back. But love has a way of lingering in photographs and glove box notes. A small framed slip of paper, his handwriting, You're the one I loved most, always will. A coffee stain on the corner, like time itself had tried to sign it. In her wallet, among pictures of Dexter and Duke, a candid shot of Al Pacino in a black suit, eyes tilted away. He never looked straight at the camera, Diane once joked. But he made the world look at him. Maybe keeping that photo wasn't nostalgia. Maybe it was a map back to the piece of herself she'd decided to give to her children instead. People asked why she chose single motherhood in her 50s. Dexter remembers the answer. Half smile, full truth. I didn't choose timing. I chose love. That line tells you everything. Diane Keaton didn't reject romance. She repurposed it. She turned a broken heart into a home where 2 kids could grow without the weight of her fame. She taught them that peace beats glory, that kindness outranks applause, that being yourself is the only role worth nailing. And still, there were nights. The garden lit with a yellow glow. Diane at the window, counting not trophies but memories. A face touched where surgery had traced old battles. A whisper of a song, Moon. River floating through a kitchen that had seen more real joy than any premiere. She never dramatized the pain. She cataloged the gratitude. Breakfast with my children. Sunset over the roofline. Being loved once is enough for a lifetime. That's how she fought the invisible wars. With lists, with laughter, with stubborn, daily grace. When the world finally paused to honor her, people said what they always say, brilliant, singular, iconic. True. But Dexter knew the parts no montage can hold. The milk poured before dawn. The questions asked at bedtime. The way her mother sat on the edge of the couch when life felt heavy, saying nothing, just staying. The gentleness that doesn't trend, the courage that doesn't look like a speech. Diane wasn't trying to be perfect, she was trying to be present. And that, somehow, became her greatest performance. Let's talk about work, the part everyone thinks they understand. Diane Keaton didn't break in. She broke out. She left Los Angeles because silence had rules there. New York gave her a stage where odd was currency. She stood barefoot in auditions, sang in rooms thick with smoke, lived on half a slice of bread and a whole lot of stubborn. Then came the storm. The Godfather Diane as Kay, love against power, softness under a crown of thorns. Then Annie Hall, the suits, the stumble, the bright awkwardness that turned into a revolution. She made difference look inevitable. But success can hollow you if you let it. Lines learned at 3 a.m., the fear that rest is a trap. She once said, "I'm afraid to stop. That's the cost people forget to count." So she stepped back, directed, wrote, restored old houses until walls could breathe again, built a life that didn't need red carpets to feel lit. She became a kind of architect of rooms, of roles, of a self that could survive applause and its echo. And at the center of it all, always, Dexter and Duke. The lunches packed, the birthdays made sacred, the boundaries drawn around their childhood like a circle of light. If they wanted privacy, they got privacy. If they wanted quiet, the world could wait. "If that gives you peace," she told Dexter, "I'm right behind you. Tell me that isn't the purest love line you've ever heard." So, who was Diane Keaton, really? The star? The rebel? The mother? Maybe the answer is simple. She was the woman who turned imperfection into style and sincerity into power. The one who showed a generation that you can be strange and strong, wounded and breathtaking, private and still profoundly generous. The one who taught us that sometimes the truest love story isn't a romance, it's the daily choosing of the people who count on you. If you've ever watched Diane Keaton and felt a little braver about being yourself, this is your moment. Drop a line for Diane in the comments. Tell Dexter and Duke what her work meant to you. And if this story moved you, you know what to do. Tap like, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that real love doesn't need the spotlight. It just needs a place to stay. Before you go, one question. When you strip away the applause and the legend, what quiet truth would people find in your story? Think about it, and I'll see you in the next one.